Hello. Once again, this is Peter Coffeen from Norfolk Artists and Friends, an organization of professional artists living and working in the Norfolk area, along with friends from New Hartford, Sheffield, Massachusetts, and for this exhibition, 3 guest artists. Our group has been sponsored for 14 years by the Norfolk Chamber Music Festival, with an annual August exhibition at the Battelle-Steckel Gallery on the grounds of the Yale campus in Norfolk. Sadly, this past year there's been no music and no art. But the art part returned in the fall when the Norfolk Library Associates graciously invited us to hold ongoing exhibits at the beautiful Norfolk Library, where social distancing and masks were required. Now, with the pandemic on the wane, we present the 5th iteration of our series, which is dedicated to the memory of one of our original charter members, Bruce Frisch, who passed away May 1st. Often called Norfolk's photographer, Bruce's talent and commitment to photography will be missed by us all. Please come along with us and have a virtual look at Bruce's work and that of 22 other artists, and hear a bit about each work through the words of the artists themselves. After viewing a brief biography of Bruce, we begin with his wonderful photo titled Heron Rookery. After 40 years of exploration, much of it as a photojournalist, Bruce says, "In the end, I return home, thankful for the amount of woods, swamps, ponds, roadsides, and gardens in the Northwest Hills of Connecticut." Thank you, Bruce, for showing us the beauty of all of those places. Our second work is an oil on canvas, 16 by 12 by Harvey Kimmelman, entitled Impressions on Mill Pond. Mill Pond in Sheffield is an unending source of inspiration to Harvey, as his paintings reflect the constantly changing colors, mood, and its atmosphere. Number 3 is an 11 by 14 oil by Jean Grassmere, entitled Narragansett. Jean tells us that there are several public access pathways to the rocky Atlantic shore between Narragansett and Point Judith. These are some of my favorite places to paint. Next is a lino cut with cutouts collaged by Susan Rood, 24 by 30, titled The World Isn't Flat, about which Susan says, something soaring into the air, often flying upside down, many times just hanging on, but usually standing on 2 feet. Well, Susan, I sure hope so. Our next artist, Peter Cusack, is the first of our guest artists. Peter Cusack is a publisher, producer, writer, painter, and the founder of Cornwall Contemporary Art, COCOA. His studio is in Torrington, Connecticut. Number 6 is a mixed media collage on paper, 15 1/4 by 12 1/4, by Tom Hlas, titled Secret Garden, Homage to Matisse. Tom says Henri Matisse is one of my art heroes. With this collage, Secret Garden, I pay homage to the great artist. Next is Pamela Arnois with a watercolor 18 by 18 called Snapdragons. Pamela tells us that a fundamental component of all my artwork is an interest in connections, to visually evoke a deeper and elemental sense of our shared planet. Number 8 is a work called Absence, an acrylic on canvas, 16 by 20 by Susanna Anderson. This painting explores loneliness brought on by loss, trying to stay upright when your base has become fragmented, the emptiness where someone once was. Yes, Susanna, I think all of us can relate to that. This work is by Edward Colt. It's an 11 by 14 oil on board called Alta. Edward tells us the painting is my daughter, Angela, skiing at Alto Lodge, created in Utah by Norfolkian J. Laughlin in 1934. Both are especially close to my heart. Here's a 20 by 26 oil by Karen Linden with the title Fawn and Doe. Karen says, the delights of spring, wild azaleas, trillium, and birds returning include new wild babies. My favorite is the fawn, all innocent and curious. Another of our guest artists, Kathleen Borkowski, presents a mixed media on paper called Alphabets of Nature. Kathleen says, I'm an artist whose joy comes from writing words. The text of this piece is by Lauren Isley. Raising our count to a dozen is a 36 by 36 acrylic on canvas by Ruth Ann Olson, titled Study in Red, Yellow, and Blue. Once more, Ruth Ann urges us to look up for that spectacular light show every day, that masterful quick change artistry, and the frequent shift from moody beauty to heavenly sky blue pink. At place 13, we have Madeline Falk with a 4 by 6.5 oil on panel called Canaan Landscape. Madeline borrows a quote from Jean-Baptiste Camille Corot, who said, "Never lose the first impression which has moved you." Occupying space above most of us is an untitled mobile by Faye O'Mara. Faye says this piece, made from wood, wire, and paint, is about connection and movement. And move it does. Why? I mean, it's no wind in here. Number 15 is by John Riedemann. It's a bronze casting of a wolfhound, 16 by 20 inches, about which John says, this bronze wolfhound was a memorial project for Philippa Crow, a friend and great animal lover, breeder and founder of the Irish Wolfhound Foundation. Next is an acrylic by Turi Rosted, 30 by 60, titled Garden of Blenna. Turi tells the viewer to sally forth. New worlds await. Taking Turi at her word, we sally forth to the new world of Julie Rego, the third of our guest artists. It's made of cotton fabric and is 48 by 48 inches and is a spectrum of color for sure. Julie elaborates. Spectrum of color is a modern quilted wall hanging that creates visual movement using a half-square triangle pattern, complementary colors, and rich hues of solid cotton fabric. At place 18, the ever-creative Janet Marks is showing a hand-wrought necklace, 20 inches long, made from large faceted rose quartz briolets symbolizing harmony and true love, appearing as rose petals, strung with silk organdy and ribbon and sterling, evoking summer joys and fantasies. Next is an acrylic on canvas panel by Ronald J. Sloan, 24 by 30, which he calls Sharing Another Birthday with You. Ronald says, I said thank you to the winds of the earth. At times they return to kiss me gently and say, thank you for being you. Number 20 is a watercolor by Catherine Moore, 21 by 25, titled Blue Heron 2. The great blue heron, says Catherine, is the king of the marsh. It slowly stalks its prey, then spears the fish with the quickest of speed. This makes a lot of herons in this exhibition. There are 6 in Bruce's picture. This makes 7. Here is a 24 by 24 oil on canvas by Lily Woodworth, which she calls Another Way Through. The tree painting came to me in a dream, with directness and yet innumerable dualities, negotiating the dream landscape. Our penultimate work is an 11 by 14 vintage black and white photograph. It's a unique gelatin and silver print by your narrator, circa 1970. Here I found a pretty stark contrast between design in nature and the man-made environment. I call it growth. Our last work in this exhibition is by Laura Lasker. It's a 12 by 14 painting titled Biarritz Boats. On the bay of Biarritz, Laura saw 3 small boats bobbing in the waves. They looked serene in contrast to the striped umbrellas. We hope you've enjoyed our exhibitions at the Norfolk Library. We plan to return to our regular summer schedule at the Battelle-Steckel Yale Estate in August. And this year will be our 14th year. And we'll also be part of next summer's weekend in Norfolk, WIN. Meanwhile, we wish you a safe and peaceful summer.